Good morning, just starting our relaxation flow, so you won't need any equipment today, just maybe something to put underneath your heads. So come and lie on your backs. So if you lie on your backs with your feet hip distance apart, and then we're just going to first of all think about our connection. So we should be starting with our feet connected equally, our lumbosacral junction connected, TL junction, both shoulder blades and the back of the head. So if you're not feeling that connection, we're just going to do a few postural changes just to try and get better connected. So first of all, we're just going to start by shifting the weight from side to side between our left and right foot. And then I just want you to pause in the midpoint when you feel like you've got that equal balance between the right and left foot. And then you're going to think about where you're feeling that connection underneath your foot. So you're feeling it on the outside of the foot or on the inside of the foot. So if you're feeling it on the outside of the foot, we're going to try and get that inner arch down towards the floor by pushing the big toe into the floor. But we're going to keep the outer edge on the floor, keeping the knees pointed towards the ceiling, keeping the ankles neutral. So what we don't want is for you to try and bring that inner arch down and just the knees collapse. So the knees are going to keep pointing up towards the ceiling. And then if it's more on the inner arch, you're going to try and get the outer arch down towards the floor, but without lifting the big toe. So we're going to keep that inner arch connection. Okay, so once we've got our foot connection, work up to the lumbosacral junction. And we're just going to start to peel the spine away from the floor, taking the pelvis into an anterior tilt, and then reverse peel the spine down into the floor into a posterior pelvic tilt. So anterior, posterior, lumbar extension, lumbar flexion. So just alternate between those movements. And then I just want you to pause in the midpoint between the two end ranges. Your lower back should be flat on the floor, so you shouldn't be able to get your hand underneath your back, but your back shouldn't be caved into the floor. And now your lumbosacral junction should be feeling more connected. So then we're going to work up to the TL junction. So we're going to think of the ribs and pelvis like the pages of a book. We want the pages to be closed, we don't want them to be open. So when we have this open book appearance, we'll have some rib flaring and some lumbar extension. So just have a feel of your ribs. Feel if they feel like they're sticking up. And if they do, we're just going to think about closing the pages of the book to bring the ribs and pelvis into connection. And your TL junction will now feel more connected with the floor. Okay, so the shoulder blades, they want to be equal from side to side. So you're just going to shift the weight from side to side. And then the shoulders themselves, they want to be in a neutral position. So you don't want elevation and forward movement of the shoulders. So we want to try and bring the shoulder blades down towards the floor, bring the shoulders back towards the floor, but don't pin them down into the floor. And then we're going to externally rotate, think about externally rotating and depressing the shoulder blades down towards the back pocket on the same side. And then back of the head is going to push straight down towards the floor, activating those deep neck flexors. So try not to let your head extend or neck extend backwards, and try not to let it pull forwards either. So we're bringing the ears down towards the floor, in line with the shoulders. Okay, so we've got our connection now. Try and keep that connection throughout. And we're now just going to put one hand on the chest, one hand on the tummy. We're just going to focus on our breathing for a few minutes. This exercise today's flow is all about relaxation. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time just clearing our thoughts, focusing on our breath and trying to get the breath in the right order. So you want to be feeling the hand on the tummy lifting on the breath in and lowering on the breath out. Really focus on those muscles in the tummy, lifting the hand on the breath in, and then just relaxing on the breath out, and the hand on the tummy is going to lower towards the floor. Try not to let your mind drift off. So let's not be thinking about what you're going to be having for lunch, what you're going to be doing later that day. So just focusing on the breath, focusing on the body, focusing on that connection, focusing on what you're feeling in the body. Try and take nice deep breaths, but keep the breaths going down into the abdomen. Try not to let them finish in the chest. This hand on the chest doesn't want to move anywhere. Do a couple more breaths. Okay, so now we've got our breath in the right order, we're going to get our 360-degree breath. So we want to, as we're breathing in, try and expand all the muscles around the abdominal wall, 360 degrees outwards. So put your hands around your waist, thumbs are digging into the back, fingers round the front of the waist. And you should feel those muscles expand on the breath in and relax on the breath out. Struggling to feel that activation of the muscles, a way to wake your muscles up and to let your brain know where they are is to cough. And you'll feel those muscles underneath your fingers lift and try and push your fingers away, and that's what you want to try and do now on the breath in. You might struggle from side to side or from front to back. Most people are able to do it into the front quite easily, but just might struggle around the back, or they might have one side that activates better than the other. So just try and think about what you're feeling and whether it feels equal from side to side and from front to back. And if it doesn't, just try and concentrate on the area that isn't inflating as well. So just give it a prod, give it a poke, cough again if you need to, and just try and visualize those muscles. Imagine that there's a balloon inside your abdomen, and then with each breath that you take, you're pumping the balloon up a little bit bigger and bigger. And that balloon is trying to expand those muscles outwards. and then don't forget to relax the muscles on the breath out. So this is the breathing pattern you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So your 360-degree breath in and relaxation on the breath out. But when you're doing something where you need more stabilisation, you're going to need to know how to create your brace. So you need to create your 360-degree breath. And before you take your breath out, you're going to do an outward push, like you're imagining that you're about to fart. So an outward push, and then try not to let the muscles completely relax as you're breathing out. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, through pursed lips, like you're blowing through a straw. Keep that activation now as you're breathing in and out. So you're doing a brace breathe, or a breath brace, whichever way you want to just say it. And obviously the amount of this brace breath you need varies depending on what it is you're doing. So if you're doing really heavy lifts, then you'll need more of a brace, and that's when you'll be holding your breath. But just generally when you do things day to day that need a bit more stabilisation, you'll need to be able to brace breathe. Couple more breaths. Okay, put your knees together and your feet together, and your hands are going to be out to the side, so shoulders at about 45 degrees and palms facing towards the ceiling. And you're just going to drop your knees in one direction and your head's going to twist the other direction. So we're doing a nice spinal rotation. And breathe into it, and then you're going to try and bring the knees back up towards the ceiling by pulling the rib cage down towards the floor on the opposite side to where the knees were, and then just rotate round to the other direction. And just feel that nice lengthening and that rotation through the spine, and then bring the rib cage on the opposite side back down towards the floor, knees up, and then take the knees across the other way. So just going nice and steady, nice and slow, focusing on that rotation and that movement, focusing on our breath, and just again, just still trying to think about what's going on in the body and not what's going on in the world. So side to side, nice and gentle. But really trying to use those oblique muscles in the abdominal wall to bring the knees up towards the ceiling. So you don't just want to yank your knees up. So we're trying to strengthen those oblique muscles, which are really important for keeping your ribs down. So it's your oblique muscles, these muscles at the side of the abdominal wall, in this kind of diagonal direction, that are the ones that are important for keeping your ribs and pelvis connected. Just do a couple more of these. And then just straighten one leg, bring the other knee up and across your body, and just hold that stretch. So you'll feel that nice stretch along the bum and into the back. Keep looking the opposite direction and just feel that rotation, feel that stretch, and just breathe into it. Keep breathing. And then bring the knees back, straighten the other leg, and then take the leg over to the opposite direction. Few more seconds. Bring your knees back. So back into your supine position with your feet hip distance apart. Find your neutral spine again. Make sure you've got that good connection, ribs and pelvis connected. Create your 360-degree breath and then just lift one leg up into the air. And then the opposite leg. And just alternate legs, nice and slow, this movement coming from the hip. And then you're going to need to create more of a brace because we're going to go into double leg lift. So as long as your back's feeling okay, if you want to carry on with single leg lifts, that's absolutely fine. So you create your 360 breath, create your brace and lift your feet up off the floor and then slowly lower back down. And we're trying to keep control of what's happening in the pelvis. So that pelvis doesn't want to move anywhere as you bring your legs up and down. Focus on your breath. So you need a braced breath at the moment. And then just do one more. And then finish up in your 3-month supine. So feet higher than the knees, ankles in a neutral position, knees over the hips. Hips in external rotation and abduction. So knees are going to be wider than the hips, but feet are going to be a bit closer together. And just hold this position and we're just going to breathe into it. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, through pursed lips. And we want to be creating a nice smooth cylinder around the abdominal wall, so you don't want to put your hands on your tummy and feel all your abdominal, your rectus abdominal muscles just poking out. They want to be nice and smooth. Okay, then grab hold of your feet into your 6-month supine. Feet are going to be going up towards the ceiling. And just hold that position and you'll feel that nice lengthening through the spine. Couple more breaths. Feet back down. And then we're just going to start to roll, so fingertips to the ceiling, lift your head slightly, and then we're just going to roll onto the side, and then roll back, roll onto the other side. And we want to imagine we've got our Lego body, so the shoulders and pelvis are moving at the same time. So what we don't want is for you to lead with your pelvis and then shoulders move, or lead your shoulders and then pelvis come. So all wants to move at the same time. And we want to control that movement so that we don't just flop onto the side and we don't just flop backwards. And then we're going to roll onto our side, up into a lower oblique sit, up into a high oblique sit. Rotate the knees round into a tall sit. It's the opposite, high oblique sit, low oblique sit, onto our backs. And then we're going to go the opposite way, so into low oblique sit, high oblique sit. Rotate the knees and the hips, and then back down, and then just keep repeating that, so just going back round and down. So keep alternating the direction that you're going to go in, so we're not just going the same direction each time. When we're going up onto our side from the rolling, the side lying, we want to make sure we're keeping the shoulder active. So we're trying to come up with an active shoulder, so we're not just letting the shoulder come forwards. And when we're in the tall sit, we're really tall, so we're not just rounding through the spine. Okay, one more each side. And then just twist round into the high oblique sit twist, and we're just going to put both hands down onto the floor. And hold that position and just feel that stretch in the spine. Keep lengthening through the spine as well. Try not to let your body just round. And then come down to both your forearms. Keep the shoulders active, don't let the shoulders come up by your ears, so we're pulling the shoulders down into external rotation and depression. And focus on your breath. And then we're going to bring one leg straight and then twist round into the pigeon stretch. And just go down onto your forearms and we're just relaxing into that pigeon stretch. And focusing on your breath. Move your hips around a little bit so that you can just get different parts of the muscles in the stretch. So if you bring your hips across more, you'll feel it in a different part. And then put your hands flat again, come off your forearms, curl your back foot under, and then lift that front leg back into your downward dog. And just hold that position. Lengthen through the spine, feel that down the backs of the legs. And then pull that opposite leg through into your pigeon stretch. And just go onto your forearms and just relax into that pigeon stretch. Again, you can just move your hips around a little bit. Feel the stretch in different parts of the muscle. Stop when you feel like you get to a good bit. And just breathe into it. Try and pull your mind to what's happening in the body, where you're feeling that stretching. And try not to let your mind wander anywhere else. And then bring yourself into your lower oblique sit twist. So your legs are going back into your mermaid position. And just hold that position with active shoulders. Both hands down, and twist again, lengthening through the spine. And then we're going to sort of take ourselves into a downward dog again. So you just put the back foot on the floor and then just pull the leg round into your downward dog again. Try and lengthen through the spine. And then you're going to slowly come down into a bear, trying to keep that nice length through the spine, keeping a neutral lower back, lower down into your quadruped, elbows to the floor, down into your low quadruped, and then you're going to push the floor away with your hands, and we're going to extend the elbows, extend the knees back into your bear, and then into your downward dog. And then lower back down, so you're bending the knees, bending the elbows, all the way down through your quadruped, into your low quadruped, and then push the floor away again, so we're going up, and then extend the knees into your downward dog. And then down again. And then up. Back into your downward dog. Lower back down. Back up. Into your downward dog. And then come down into your low quadruped. And we're just going to do a low quadruped hinge. So we're hinging the hips backwards, as far back as you can go. And then come forwards, keeping control of your pelvis and your lower back. And then keep your forearms pushing down into the floor. Curl the feet under, you're going to extend your knees. And just feel that stretch down the back of the legs. And then slowly lower down and hinge the hips backwards again. And slowly out of it. Still try to maintain control of the pelvis and lower back. And then extend the knees again. Slowly lower down. Low quadruped hinge. And extend the hips. Keep lengthening through the spine. And then you're going to extend the knees again, so lifting the bum into the air. Lengthening through the spine. And knees back down. Push yourself up into your quadruped. Make sure you're nice and long, and make sure that you've got your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back. And then you're just going to hinge your hips backwards. And forwards, controlling that pelvis. Lift your knees off the floor into your bear. Hinge backwards. Keeping that length in the spine. And then back down. Knees down. Hinge your hips, so your quadruped hinge. Nice and deep. And forwards, controlling your back. Feet down, into your bear. Bear hinge. Back down. Quadruped hinge. Last one. Curl the feet under. Bear hinge. And then walk your hands backwards into your squat. And we're just going to hold that position. Try and get nice and upright if you can without extending the lower back. And then slowly come up out of that position. And we're just going to do some air squats now. So focusing on your pelvic position, lower back position with each squat. So make sure you start with your neutral spine and then slowly down. Control any movements that might be happening in your pelvis and lower back, and just hold it down in your squat. And just in your own time now, just working through some squats with a bit of a pause at the bottom. Do one more. And then you're just going to stand up a second, and you're just going to run one arm down one leg, take the opposite arm up to the ceiling, and just hold that position. Look up towards the ceiling. And then come back up and go the opposite way. Think about your breathing, think about your body, where you feel in each of these movements. Feel if there's any imbalances between the right and left side. And back up. And then you're going to go back down into your squat. So slowly down. Walk your hands out, and then take one leg forwards into your tripod, and I want you to try and make sure that we're nice and flat through the spine, and then we're just going to shift our weight backwards, so we're hinging, but only go far as back as your back knee will allow. So if it's just a little bit of a distance, that's fine. But if you can get a bit further back, we're just going to hold this position. So we're not actually going backwards and forwards on the knee. We're just going to hold that position and just feel that lengthening through that leading leg. And try and lengthen through the spine as well. So try not to let the shoulders come up, try not to let your neck extend, so we're lengthening through the spine. And focusing on the breath. Five more seconds, and then come up out of it into your high kneel, and then we're just going to hinge back again. So just as far as that back knee will allow. Don't need to go all the way if it feels uncomfortable, but we're just going to lengthen through. So if you need to, just hold it a little bit further back, so we don't need to come all the way back. And if you shift your weight backwards a little bit, so that you're not over the knee, so if you're over the knee, you're putting more pressure into your kneecap, but if you come backwards a little bit, it'll be more onto the tibia, onto the shin. Okay, so after that we're going to go into our high kneel position, high kneel to stand. So make sure we're not too narrow with the foot. So foot's going to be to the side, pelvis is level with the floor. Make sure this is still recording. Yep. Okay, pelvis level with the floor, neutral spine. And then we're just going to curl the back foot under, shift the weight into that front foot, and then slowly come up out of that position. And then just in your own time now, just going to do some high kneel to stands, stands to high kneels. But try and slow that movement down. Control the movement. And we're focusing on keeping the pelvis straight forwards as we lower down and straight forwards as we come up. What we want to try and avoid is shooting out to the side, knee collapsing. So it's really slow. Ooh, lost my balance then. So it's good for helping to improve your balance as well. So just slow it right down, work on your breath. Do another couple on this side. And then hands down. Take that front foot back into your bear. Pull the other foot forwards. And then we're going to be lengthening through the spine, and again we're just going to shift backwards and just go as far back as you feel comfortable. Don't force the movement. So if you want to just stop here, you can, and you can take your front leg a little bit further back, further forward should I say, if you want to get more lengthening through your hamstring. Breathe into it. Lengthen through the spine, lengthen through the neck. And then come up into your high kneel. And just come backwards. Just go as far back as you feel comfortable with that knee. So if you can get all the way back, great. If you want to just pause here. It's a little bit more challenging because you've got to hold yourself in a position. Keep lengthening through the spine. Don't let yourself round. Keep the shoulders active. Neck. We want to feel those deep neck flexors working. Couple more breaths. And then back into our high kneels to stand. So not too narrow, foot out to the side, pelvis level with the floor, and then slowly up. And in your own time, just gonna go through that movement nice and chilled and slow, focusing on your breath Focusing on the knee, tracking the second and third toe. As well, think about the big toe connection, so trying to make sure that big toe is pushing down into the floor, and we've got that tripod connection with the foot onto the floor. Make sure you're taking your time with it. So we want to aim for about 3 seconds, up and down, not rushing the movement. Just do a few more on this side and then we're done. Do last one, and we're done. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all soon. Bye.